there's the one with the Christmas Carol we just came out with, just right on Christmas Day actually. So, and Gabriel here was definitely one of the characters. Would you say the main character, or because you're the homeowner now, but.
I would have to go with C. Brown being the main character. He put the comedy. He put the humor.
I didn't actually think about who is like quote unquote like the. I
might have been the main hated character for being so grumpy.
Oh yeah, it was the Scrooge.
Who's that?
That was so when I came up with that idea, I was actually I woke up at like 4:00 in the morning. I was telling a few other people this. That like a lot of creative people have this thing when they wake up and then just have to like write down ideas. At least I do. It happens at least once or twice a week for me. Where I got up, it was like that week before we filmed it, and I was like, "Hey, I got this idea. I just thought of." I remember I sent you the message early in the morning. I was like, "I got this idea about having a Christmas Carol, and just it was kind of harassing. It was because I had a dream actually." About like somebody coming to the house and there's a few carolers just singing and stuff, and they were just being like annoying. I answered the door in this dream. And I was like, oh, it was just inconvenient time to have it, but then I just thought like just write something silly like that. I don't know, but you guys did a great job, and that scream at the end, dude, that was, it's epic, man. It was just that's Hollywood right there.
Well, I stayed up till like 3:00 in the morning that day. I woke up early for the film. I stayed up till like 3:00 in the morning.
Were you practicing that scream?
No.
Oh.
I stayed up after the filming because it was just a busy day. It was Christmas Eve. But usually when you have a holiday like that, to spend it with your family. And besides it being a film, you get to interact with these characters and these people that you're friends with, but you never really get to feel them as like family until you're hanging with them on a family day, and you're like, wow, I'm later going to see my family, but this is family one.
Right.
This is family two. And that's what I felt like that day. We took anywhere from 5 to 6 hours filming, and not at one point did I feel like uncomfortable, did I feel like it was too much. I literally felt like I was just at my family's holiday gathering. And it was nice because with this whole social distancing for 2020, especially last year, we didn't have that bonding. So to bond while having fun, I had more fun doing it than watching it at the end because I knew what it took to do it.
Right.
So it was nice interacting with everybody. So that was definitely a plus in doing that.
Yeah, that was definitely. I remember I was so excited to go home and edit the video, and I actually stayed up the entire Christmas Eve.
Did you see Santa Claus?
Well, I heard that Santa doesn't come if you're awake. Someone told me that. Like my mom, maybe. Like parents, they tell you that stuff. If you listen to Santa, if you still believe in Santa Claus, you might want to turn it off. The tooth fairy, remember you had a loose tooth, you'd perfectly pull it out. You're it shouldn't come out right away, but you're just pull them out. All of a sudden, you're like, yeah, all that for $1.
Oh, man, that sounds painful. I discovered the tooth fairy because I had a tooth fall out. I put it under my pillow, and I didn't tell anybody. And the next morning, it was still the tooth. So I was like, man, I was hoping it was real. So I told my mom, I didn't get nothing. And she's like, well, why didn't you tell me? And I'm like, why did I have to tell you?
Oh, yeah. I thought tooth fairy should have just come up and get a tooth regardless, right? Why did I got to tell you for? All you need the parents' approval.
I dressed up as the Easter bunny, though. When I was 10, I had a bunch of nieces and nephews already, and that year I decided to dress up in a gray sweatsuit.
Yeah.
And I had bought a mask from Dollar Tree with some money.
A bunny mask?
A bunny mask. Well, it got lost. So I decided to take paper and cotton balls and glue it onto the paper. And I changed my voice and everything.
How old were you?
I was 10. And my niece was like, nah, you're my uncle. I'm like, no, your uncle went to his friend's house. I'm the Easter bunny. I don't know who you're talking about, but here's an Easter egg for him.
You took a high-pitched voice. It's like, Easter bunny. Or you just cut the same voice.
The
Easter bunny.
And I did it the whole time for 3 hours. I remember I was so exhausted. I'm like, all right, I want to just be done. This was a bad idea. Why? So finally I went upstairs and changed, and I acted like I came back. And my niece was like, that was you. I'm like, no.
that was one of my fears of traveling. Is if like you have that, like say you ate like I don't know some chimichangas or something before you left the house, and some hot sauce. I like a lot of hot sauce, so it's a lot of spicy food, and you know you're on like a 2-hour trip somewhere, and then all of a sudden let's say you're about I don't know like say 10 miles away from like the next exit. You're like, oh crap, I gotta use the bathroom, and it's usually it seems like it happens like almost instantly. Some things will build up to it. Oh, I should probably use the restroom here soon. Or you try to plan for it a lot of times, but
some come out of nowhere and just like,
yep, just like that, like bam, ooh.
And as you're driving, it says the next 10 miles, the next 15 miles, and it's like, well, wait a minute, why is it getting further as I'm going closer? That's what it feels like anyway. Emotionally, I'm like, I'm still 5 miles away, 1 mile away.
Oh yeah.
And then you get out of the car, I'm 500 feet away.
Yeah, or you get too frustrated, you miss your exit, and you're like, oh no, isn't there 7 miles? I gotta wait now.
Oh poop! I gotta take a next subject.
yeah. No, that's happened before. I mentioned actually it was when I was first time going to Cleveland, because I was still learning the area like far as the exits and stuff, and I got on the wrong exit, and it took me like. I remember I was trying to go to like, I don't know, like one of the restaurants, like McDonald's or something like that. I don't know, just use the bathroom. I had to go. I've been holding it for the last like 20 miles, whatever it was. And so I'm like, I'll just go. Cause I try to find like certain exit points. Like if I have like, I got maybe 15 miles. Okay, I'll wait here 15 miles if I could wait. So then I got through a point where like I had to instantly go. Like I had very little wait time left in me.
Jeez.
And I saw, okay, I'm going to go down this street here. Exit here, like Prospect Avenue takes you like downtown area, but because I wasn't used to all like the 5-lane traffics and stuff, and I thought the exit was here, but it's over at the next exit, so I missed it completely. I was like, oh well, I'll just take down this will just be around the block or something. Nope, that took me on another a little different like interstate kind of thing, whatever their route. It's like it's about a 4-mile drive to get back to this. Like, oh. Yeah, that was bad. I thought I was gonna lose it, man.
Nothing worse than having that happen on a date.
When did you start doing photography? Like before you got into acting, what made you get into photography? Like it just
2008 was the first time I remember grabbing a digital camera. We were on vacation as a family in Puerto Rico, and my mom had a digital camera. First time I ever even seen like a SD card, and it only had like 256 megabytes.
Oh, small.
It was a small SD card, so I could only take but so many pictures. And my mom was mad at me because we went to go see like old sites, and I started taking pictures of like the beach and the monuments. El Morro is one of the things that I took a lot of pictures of. And she's like, why are you taking all these landscape pictures with nobody in it? That camera was for people to be in it. I said, because I like the way that it looked. And from there, it kind of took off. I was like, I like taking nature shots. I like taking landscape shots. But I never had taken of people until I started dating somebody that was a model. And she was like, hey, you're really good at taking pictures. Take pictures of me. So I was like, man, I don't really feel like it. But I got really good at it. Her and I separated it, and I continued on with that.
Right.
So a lot of people liked the way that I did her pictures, so they got a hold of me too. And they're like, hey, you do really good work for girls like that. Why don't you do for more? So I took trips out to like Pittsburgh, Buffalo, Cleveland was a big one. And eventually people were like, hey, can you do my family portraits? Can you do? I'm like, yeah, you know what? I could make this extra money on the side. I have this camera sitting. Why not? So it was kind of like an unplanned career that kind of just took over off of having an eye, I guess. It wasn't something I planned on. It just kind of happened.
Right. That's cool. I remember when I said, when I first started, I bought a camera, and it came with a bunch of like beginner's lens and stuff. It was just a beginner camera. But I was like, I want to just take it outside and just maybe take some pictures. But my first pictures were so horrible, dude. It was like random stuff, like a picture of a tree, and it's like some leaves on it. I was trying to I didn't know what I was doing. I had it in auto mode, and just like taking pictures of random stuff. Like here's a picture of the lake, and it was so how the horizon has to be flat, and mine was more tilted this way, and I remember I was so proud of my pictures. You can go on Facebook and you look them up. I posted them like 3 or 4 years ago. So I haven't been doing it for a very long time, but I remember just from doing those and just taking a picture of like just, I don't know, birds, like seagulls and stuff, and they'd be blurry, they weren't focused at all, and just the composition's off, and I would post it to other people who do photography. I was like, look at this photo, what did you get by? It looks pretty good, doesn't it? They're like, it's too contrasty, underexposed, the composition's terrible. But nonetheless, though, as bad as it was, I was having fun.
Right. So I did take 6 months at CAM, which is located on 12th Street, Erie, Pennsylvania. And,
Okay, yeah.
I got to get a better experience off of the things that I learned on YouTube. Peter McKinnon. Big name.
Peter, yeah, I know him.
I learned a lot from him. And, even though it was very helpful watching YouTube, that you get a lot of loose ends that you can't really get in a classroom, or that you would get in a classroom setting. So going to CAM, they patched up those missing pieces like lighting, exposure, tilt up, down, left, right, pan, left, up, down, left, So there was terminology that I just wasn't familiar with yet that when I took those classes, they helped me with it, and I ended up getting a certificate. But that wasn't until 2018. So everything before then was kind of like me just winging it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Taking a stab at it without any real knowledge.
Yeah,
So,
just learning on the fly.
Learning as you go.
Which is, I always thought that was the best way to learn it, honestly. But if you can get like the hands-on training too, for those who have a little more experience and knowledge, they can kind of like just to, how would I say it, like just kind of fine-tune that skill set.
Right.
So when you mentioned CAM, I mean, they have a pretty good program over there, and a lot of people that are willing to help you out with as far as, learn equipments and so forth, which is,
They taught me to render my video as I was editing.
Oh, yeah. We had a discussion before.
An emotion is a feeling, and a feeling can feel very intense, but it may not always display intensity.
Right.
So a lot of people tend to be emotionally dramatic, but not physically dramatic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They'll be sad, but they'll only have, instead of
selling it.
Right.
So remember, you're asking questions like, how much you want me to sell this emotion? Am I just gonna be kind of sad, like just a little, or do you want me like bawling my eyes out, crying? And that told me like how much invested you were in that character, that moment. And that's what takes, like, again, I'm not, I didn't go to school for acting. Obviously, I've never did it. I was never acting in movies other than like a couple cameos in my own stuff once in a while. So, and it wasn't even like really, like I wouldn't consider like really full on acting.
You're like the Stan Lee of Erie, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
He makes a cameo in all his Marvel movies.